I'd like to begin talking to you with a little story. This is a story when I was invited a couple of years ago for a meeting to Brazil. I was thinking, 36 hours of flying time, 3 flight changes. I was confused, but I really wanted to go. There were a lot of people around me, including my travel agent, who said, no, in the northeast of Brazil, there is a lot of crime. I was really angry. I was like, why are these people trying to stop me? So like a child, I went stomping into my dad's room and I said, Papa, I want to go to Brazil. Everyone's saying it's not safe. I shouldn't go. He saw my tantrum and he said, listen, calm down. Like, what really has happened? I said, I shouldn't go because Brazil is not safe and you know what, people get shot there. There's a lot of crime. He said, okay, so the crime is that people get shot. I said, yeah, people get shot. He's like, are they blind people who are getting shot? I said, no, there's general crime. People get shot. Why are you acting like that? And he said, but then that's nothing to do with your blindness, Nidhi. If you want to go, you go. People get shot, you will get shot, if at all. But the choice is with you. You decide and no one else does. That's the kind of perspective that my family helped me build. And I think I'm super privileged that I got that opportunity to build a perspective. Where I know that not every barrier is because of my blindness. Not every barrier is because I'm a woman. Every individual has different sets of barriers in their lives, right? And for me, they may be more. For me, they may be unique. But at the end of the day, what is important is that I decide what to do with these barriers. Do I push them out of my way? Do I decide to jump over them and move on? Do I decide to find an alternative route to my goal? But I wasn't always this decisive, right? I wasn't always someone who knew what she wanted. I wasn't always someone who had a voice. For me, when I was 15 and I was diagnosed with an incurable, irreversible eye disorder, which would eventually render me blind, quite honestly, I was spiraling down. I was spiraling down with the thought that I don't know how this life of blindness would be for me. That's when, once again, my family stood around me. You know, generally people say, oh, they're your pillars of support. And I say, no, they're not my pillars of support. They basically created a wall around me, a wall that stopped the negativities outside, a wall that infused my heart with very positive thoughts, a wall that sort of made me see that there is definitely a light at the end of the tunnel. The wall that whispered encouraging words every time I sat down in defeat, or every time I said, I don't know if I can go further anymore, right? This encouragement has been there. The family support has been there, and very often people believe that it's the journey of blindness where they supported me the most. But I think the way my family empowered me was a very unique way. They basically enabled me to look for my own abilities. They basically allowed me the space to just be. And I remember in the first 5-6 years when I was low vision, then lower vision and going blind, I remember this conversation with many people. They said, oh my God, you were preparing to be a portrait painter and now you can't be that anymore. So what are you going to be? You have a lovely voice. Maybe you should sing. Or, you know, you're blind, so anyway, something to do with voice. Then they suddenly saw that my brother, who was also living with blindness, finished his MBA, first MBA in India, and was working successfully. And they said, oh, blind people can do MBAs. Why don't you do an MBA? And I had got the strength to turn around and say, it's not about what can be done. It's about what I want to do. And that's what's important for me. I think the way my family empowered me and the privilege that I had to go through this empowerment was the true empowerment of building and having a voice and trying to cancel out the noise around me. And this is very important because I looked around and in my activism, I realized that many women with disabilities who are like me, who are not like me, but have different disabilities, do not have this voice. I remember my very first workshop with women at the grassroots. This was in Uttar Pradesh, and there were women from the interiors of Uttar Pradesh come together, adolescent girls, and I was trying to talk to them. I asked them one single question. I said, okay, tell me a dream. Tell me what you want. There was silence. I cajoled them, I coaxed them, I chatted with them, I conversed with them, I sang with them, I danced for them, right? I've not danced for anybody else, but I danced for them. But there wouldn't be a reply. A couple of hours later, some of them very shyly, timidly came up to me and said, Didi, we really wanted to respond to you, but no one has sat us down and ever said, what is your dream? Tell us your dream. And we don't think we are left with that ability anymore to think and find out what we want. This is why I moved into activism. Not just to fight for the rights or the barriers that I was facing, to remove those barriers and fight for my rights, but really to fight alongside many others who are facing these barriers, to create a more just, a more beautiful, and a more inclusive world for tomorrow. Because honestly, globally, if you look at the figures, 19.2% of the women live with some form of disability or the other. But women with disabilities like me and others are still fighting to just be recognized as women first. The conversation that often go around us is, oh, you're a woman and you're disabled. That's a problem. That's a huge defect. But why would someone invest in your education? Why would you need livelihood opportunities? Listen, like you're just going to be a burden on somebody for the rest of their lives. Why would someone decide to have you? Are you undateable? You are completely unmarriageable. Why do you want to be independent? What does independence even mean for you? In all of this noise, we have another sort of major cultural, almost a cult in India, which is called Bollywood. Have you guys heard of it? And Bollywood adds to this noise at multiple levels. I was at another workshop, conducting another workshop as a trainer for another group of young adults with disabilities. And I was somehow sensing that, from her conversations, that it was her age, she really wanted to be in a relationship, she really wanted to, in her words, get married, or in her context, get married. And I brought it up, and she said, no, waist downwards, I don't have like functioning waist downwards, I don't function. And it'll be really embarrassing. I said, what will be embarrassing? She said, I want to marry, but it'll be really embarrassing. I said, why? She said, oh, the guy will have to pick me up and then we'll have to take the feras. And it transported me to the scene from this film where the man was valorized. He was non-disabled and he was valorized to, quote unquote, accept this woman with a disability. Forget about inaccessibility in her own mandap, that they couldn't organize a wheelchair and a ramp, but the man was valorized. And this has been going on for years, right? The age of the angry young man when he got all the sympathy because he had this budi maa and andi behen ka burden on him. We really sympathize with that character. Or then we are the butt of like humor because we are these little people or the stammering ones in the film, or we are really villainous. People with disabilities are used as daunting creatures because we have an eye patch, or we have a hunchback, or we have a limp. The kind of representations, the kind of noise that this creates forced me to enter activism, forced me to work not just for rights, but at the intersection of rights on disability, gender, sexuality, and violence. Now, commonly, these individual words people understand. Disability, ha, gender, ha, sexuality, no. Violence, ha. And then the only word that stays or pops out at people is sexuality because it's taboo. It's so taboo in this country, right? And now you imagine, now that you know my age and I started a couple of years ago, it was almost that a young woman who's single, who's disabled, has now suddenly come up and is talking about sexuality equals to, well, the word went around that Nidhi Goyal only knows to talk about sex. The word went around that I'm pretty fast and loose. The word went around that I would be quote unquote easy, right? I am an activist, but good girls don't rebel, right? I'm independent and confident, but they said, maybe I'm too bold for my own good. And in this situation, when I tried at many points to share about harassments and abuse that I faced, they said, I must have been sexually interested. in this kind of environment, I went back, I stepped back and I reflected. I said, is it happening with me? Is it happening with women with disabilities? And then I realized that in our country, it's just with all women. If women speak up against the hegemonic ways of being, against the dominant noises, against anything, what happens? We have online trolling, right? What happens? They're isolated. What happens? They're ostracized in many, many cases. And heaven forbid, God forbid, if they speak about their sexuality or express or assert their sexuality, then the only thing that they face is problem. Because women with disabilities are viewed as objects of pity and charity. And women in general are treated as objects of desire. Objects that need to be convinced, controlled, coerced, and nothing else. How controlled? By saying, oh my God, your clothing's inappropriate. Oh my God, do not stay that late out at night. Oh my God, you're so loud. Oh my God, why do you laugh like this? Why do you sit with your legs spread? Oh my God, at so many levels. Oh my God. How coercion? Because when a woman wants to step out and say, and stand up and say, listen, I was harassed, I was abused, the first reaction is, you must have done something. You must be late at night, you must have gone out. You must have provoked this person. You must have shown a little interest, and then mena to like that only. Or the guilt of, the shame of, now you're used, you're not good for society anymore. What happens to women with disabilities? There was this young woman with a disability who said, listen, I walk with crutches, and this uncle of mine always tries to help, but then he inappropriately touches me, and I want to tell my family, and I've told them, but they don't listen. I said, how can they not listen? He's sort of harassing you. And she said, they always say, you're disabled, this is going to happen to you because of your disability. I said, that doesn't make any sense to me. She said, yeah, but they also say that this person is at least helping you. Why don't you take that help and just move on? If it's not about control and coercion, the other language that we present towards women who want to stand up, who want to make a mark, who want to do something different in life, is that of danger. How of danger? Again, circling back to our cult of Bollywood. Akeli ladki, khuli tijori hoti hai. And all of us have quoted these lines. All of us have laughed at it. All of us have enjoyed Kareena Kapoor delivering it. But the underlying message is that either you will be controlled, restricted, and if you're not, then there's danger, and you are responsible for that danger. If you say, okay, I don't care, and I will not conform to whatever you're saying, then the easiest thing to do is start a controversy. And the controversy doesn't only touch you, it touches people around you, your near and dear ones, your family, etc. Stepping back, I am again super privileged because my family doesn't care about conforming to anything, my family doesn't care about any controversy. That's how you get up and become a stand-up comedian. So I decided to, as a part of my activism, start a stand-up comedy performances on disability, gender, sexuality, and the range of issues around it, right? So an issue-based stand-up comedy. And I still remember my first show when I was performing, not my first show, but my first show in Mumbai. And my parents wanted to come for that show, and my brother and my sister and their spouses. And I was like, are you guys crazy? Like, why would you want to see me perform? And they're like, are you crazy? Why wouldn't we want to see you perform? I went to my mom and I said, you know the content of my comedy, right? She smiled. I said, why do you want to come to my show? She again smiled and she said, okay, I'll think about it. I didn't realize then that she's trying to pacify me. Okay, then I went to my dad and I see him happily forwarding these messages of like my daughter's performing the stand-up comedy in an event called Sex and Sexibility to all his friends. And I said, Dad, what's wrong with you? Why would you do this? You know this show is an adult show. I don't even think you should come. He looked at me and he said, Beta, I am an adult, in case you've forgotten. But zooming out and thinking about why someone like me went into activism. Why did I decide to challenge these power structures? Power structures of ableism, of sexism, of heteronormativity, power structures of casteism, any kind of power structures. Because I realized that the noise around us is huge. The noise is there to suppress us, to influence us, to really mock at us, right? To make us feel sort of ashamed of the choices that we make, to make us feel guilty that we're asking for our rights. And I wanted to cancel this noise out. I wanted to work with people to build and amplify their voices just the way my family did it for me. That doesn't mean that strong women like me do not have their moments, do not have moments where the noise overwhelms us, and we just know how to manage it. We create a circle of support. And this time, the circle of support is not just my family. As I grow older, it's my colleagues, it's very, very close friends who stand all around me again and just give me that breathing space, cut the noise, and give me that breathing space to rediscover my voice, to again stand up and say, this is who I am. So women, if you face, or for anybody, if you face backlash, if you face pushback in life, you remember you're on the right track, because that means you're seriously shaking up something. Always remember that it's only the winners who get targeted. All we have to do is persistently, constantly, just listen to one thing, listen to our voice and cancel the noise. Thank you very, very much.